What's up, y'all?
I'm sick.
And we look like shit. I was like, what could we do that could be like kind of fun, kind of productive? And I thought, let's get ready as if we're gonna go somewhere. Yeah. We're gonna do that. And then we're gonna talk at the same time. I forgot my clip in the other room. I'm gonna go get that. Okay, so I got my clip. But we're going to talk. We're just gonna talk about some random shit. Some random stories. Some random crap that's happened to me in my life. Because that will be fun, right? It'll be super fun. Because we have persevered and got through those situations. So we're going to talk about some of them while doing our face for no reason. Yep. This is how I spend my sick day, because my other sick day, I'm tired of chilling in bed, you know what I mean? Just tired of it. So we're gonna do our makeup for no reason. Okay, so first story. Literally look like a little boy right now. Okay, so first story. Let's do the one where I ran a mile when I should not have been running a mile. And at NEC's Northeast Conference, big ass deal in middle school. So I'm an 8th grader, and I just had a varsity meet the day before, and I have a varsity meet the next day, but I still have to compete for middle school, okay? And I feel like shit. Like, I'm just, like, run down. It's like, what just happened? And I'm not feeling well at all. And they kind of went easy on me when it came to middle school meets, because they were like, this is kind of like your practice day, and kind of just like you'll do like 1 or 2 events, and then they look like a
warrior.
So yeah, they would usually make me do like the open 8 and the mile and the 4x4, or just the open 8 or just the mile and the 4x4. Okay, I haven't done anything yet. I just feel like shit. And I'm like going up to the line, and I'm like doing the workout, I'm doing the like warm-ups and shit, and I'm just looking at my teammates who are running the mile too, and I'm just like, you guys, I feel like shit. And they're like, yeah, we've heard this before, because of my anxiety, I'd always feel like shit. But this time I was like, bro, like I feel like something might happen here. I'm telling them that, and then I just remember like we get to the line, and I look over at my mom and my aunt, because they're sitting there like at the like fence line, just like, you know, watching. And I look over at my mom, and she's like, you look like shit. And I was like, I feel like shit. I said, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. And she goes, that's all she does. And then it's like 5 seconds, and gun goes off. I run this goddamn mile. I feel like ass wiped during this mile, but I cross that finish line, and the first thing I do is yak. I yak all over the finish line, all over where everyone's looking, everyone's watching, everyone is seeing who fucking won, who did the best. But I crossed that finish line and yacked. And then continue on, and I tell my coach this or whatever, and he's like, oh, good thing I thought of your system after that. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. But I still feel like shit, and I have the 4x4. So I'm like, he's like, just hydrate and just like take it easy, because I had a while until the 4x4. Not as long as the varsity meet, obviously, but I had a little bit. So I'm like hydrating, doing whatever. And right before the 4x4, I am yakking in this garbage can. And finally, my coach comes up to me and goes,
do you think you can run?
And I was like, I look up at him over the garbage can, and I'm like, I mean, I could try. And then I'm like, like, still yakking. I don't know why I keep saying, I just don't like the word puking. I don't know. Not even doing my makeup. We're gonna do my makeup, but I forgot to get this wet, so I'm gonna finish this story. Excuse me. I'm like, I could try. And he's like, well, I have an alternate. We're just not going to do as well. And I was like, it's up to you, coach. He's like, all right, well, we're like starting in like a minute and you're still over the trash can. So like, I think we might just have to have somebody else do it. And I was like, good idea. So that's one story. Oh, we also had a time to run one time where we were running, obviously. And it was like a timed like 3 mile run or some shit like that. So it was like an important practice day to say the least. And I was like freaking out over this. Like it was one of those days where like I was like a sophomore, so like my hips and boobs had come in, you know, I wasn't like this tiny little 7th, 8th grader anymore. So I was competing for my spot against 7th and 8th graders who were tiny, who were lighter, who were, you know, you're a little better runner when you're a little tiny little thing, you know. So I'm like competing for my spot for varsity at this point. So against these little girls. And it was like me getting like the 5th, 6th, or 7th spot. Like I had some like leeway, but like I was like freaking out a little bit. We're running this thing and we have a block left. A block.
A block.
And I'm running next to my best friend and amazing teammate. And I'm like, babe, I can't see. And she's like, we're almost there, we're almost there. And I'm like, no, I can't see. Like, I literally can't see. So she, like, grabs my arm, and she's like, is this okay? And I'm like, I mean, you're helping me guide the way, but you gotta go. You gotta finish. This is your, like, this is when you need to, like, kick it in and go, you know? She was like, I'm fine. I'm fine. No, I'm worried about you. And I was like, don't worry about me. Why are we doing our makeup? I was like, don't worry about me. Just freaking go. And then she was like, no, I'm not leaving you. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so she's like holding my hand. She's like, can you see? Can you see? And I'm like, no, I still can't see. And then she was like, Carly. And then I wasn't answering because I was like in blackout mode. Like now I can't hear. It was like the like things were like, I was like, my body was like dying. And all of a sudden I am in the ditch. And then I wake up in a cop car and I'm like, did I finish? And he's like, no, sweetheart, but you were really, really close. And I'm like, did Taylor finish? And he's like, she waited until you got into the vehicle and then she came. And I'm like, so she messed up her time for me? I mean, obviously, Taylor, like, she was like our best runner, so she was going to be just fine. And I ended up being just fine somehow. But, whew, that's another funny story about good old cross country and track days. Okay, so this next story is actually kind of a funny one. It's about growing up with two sisters, and my younger sister had nothing to do with this particular story. It was my older sister, but we're 2 years apart, so we were like at each other's throat, you know, about everything and anything. And I think I was probably like 5th grade, 6th grade, somewhere around there. And I am having night terrors. Started watching the show Haunted. And I don't know if you've seen the show Haunted, but it's based on true events. And it's very realistic, like paranormal shit. And I've always loved scary movies and scary shit. Like I remember like being a kid and like wanting to watch that stuff until this point where I saw this episode and it was about the man. And it was like this tall, lengthy, gross ass man who would stand over these little girl's bed and every single night and mess with her and like grab her legs and like flip her around and like just like get in her face and, you know, just like scary ass shit. This portrayal of this man, like they called him
The man.
scared the shit out of me. And it made me just like halt my like obsession with like scary movies and shit because I started having nightmares about the man. And I started having night terrors about the man where I would even be like stuck at some point. Like I don't know if I would call it full on sleep paralysis because it wouldn't be for that long. It became to a point where I needed my mom to sleep with me like every single night. And I don't like people sleeping with me. Like it bothers me. I don't sleep well. I just like I don't have the whole bed to like I don't like it. but I needed my mom to sleep with me. And it got to a point where my mom was like, I'm not sleeping well anymore. You need to start sleeping with your sister, my younger sister. So I was like, fine. And I remember the specific night where I was literally in bed with Lindsay, and Lindsay is still like sound asleep. This is my younger sister. And I'm screaming, crying for my mom. And for one, Lindsay never woke up. I have no idea how she never woke up. And my mom comes back and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I can't move. I'm so scared. I need you to sleep with me. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm going through this traumatic stage in my life, okay, with sleep. And this went on for months. I don't know how long. Probably a good, like, I don't know. My mom would know the answer, but it felt like 6 months. But she's probably going to be like, oh, it was like 3 months long or some shit like that. Anyway, I'm going through this moment in my life where I am just like terrified of somebody killing. My biggest fear was like, and still to this day, is something happening to my family and friends. And when I was watching these shows, I thought something was not only going to happen to me, but I was scared something was going to happen to me where I would be frozen in bed while my family would get like murdered, or while my family would get like possessed or something. Like, that was my fear. And so me and my sister were at an age where, since I was probably like 6th grade, she was probably like an 8th grader, and or if I was 5th grade, she was a 7th grader. So we're like old enough to stay home alone. It was the first day of summer, and this is the first summer, so we had to be younger. We had to be younger. I don't know. Maybe I was like a 4th grader and she was a 6th grader. But we had this like outside school program that we had always had to be in years prior, and this was like our first summer of like showing mom that like we can do it. Like, we can watch ourselves. We'll be fine. We aren't gonna kill each other. Nobody's gonna run away. Nobody's gonna do anything. Like, we'll be fine. First day of summer. And okay, so she had to have been at least 14 because one of her friends could drive. Okay, so I had to be like 6th grade. Okay, cool. Glad we figured that out. And I am a little pansy at this age about life and what's happening, and I'm scared of everything. Like, just scared at night, like really bad. Like, it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. My sister thought it was kind of funny one day. Oh my god, this story. She faked an intruder coming into the house. This is what happened. So we're sitting, and my poor little sister went through this too. She's 4 years younger than me, 6 years younger than Mackenzie, so she was a little nugget. Like, she didn't know what the fuck was going on. Just poor God. And all of a sudden, we hear banging at the door. And Mackenzie's looking at us, and she's like, do you know if anyone's coming over? And I was like, no, like, I don't think so. And she's like, nobody should be coming over. And I'm like, okay. So she's like hyping it up, like freaking us out, you know? She's like, go to the bathroom. I'll check it out. And we're like, okay. So we go to the bathroom. Then we hear, like, stumbling down the hall. And it's Mackenzie, and she's like banging on the door, and she's like, let me in, somebody's in the house. And we're like, what? And like, we don't have phones at this point because like my parents have a weird rule about phones, and we couldn't have them until we were a certain age, or until we were done with like 8th grade and going in to be a freshman. So Mackenzie didn't have a phone yet, and she had an iPod. This, like, we would use the apps, like the texting apps off of that and whatever. And so the big thing at this age was like iPods. And I had an iPod, she had an iPod, but her iPod was like cooler. I had like the mini tiny one, and she had like the big iPod. Like the very first version you can think of, like iPod 3. This iPod will come into play later. But so she's banging on the door, and she's like, let me in, like somebody's in the house. And we're like, oh my god. So we open the door, and I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, somebody's in the house, there's a man in the house. And then we hear like poof, 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 coming down the hallway, like running. And we're like, that's when me and Lindsay finally look at each other, and we're like, she's not lying, like there's somebody in the house. And it starts banging on the door, and we're like, oh my god. Like, and Mackenzie's like, I gotta go out there. And we're like, no, like, why would you go out there, like, any scary movie? And she, like, goes out there and then she comes back and then she's, like, screaming and, like, making it sound like she's getting attacked, and then she's, like, and then I'm, like, bawling in the bathroom, and finally she opens the door, and then it's her and her best friend, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? Like, this is a joke? I was just so appalled. So I slam the door and I grab our house dog and I am in the bathroom just pissed. And Mackenzie's iPod is in there. And I'm like, And next time I open the door, I have a plunger and I go like this. And I'm like, back up. And Mackenzie's like, whoa, it was just a joke, like whatever. And I'm like, no, that is not funny. Get out of my way. So I have the dog and then I just like throw the plunger back into the bathroom. So I have our house dog, Mackenzie's iPod, and myself. And I start walking barefoot with the dog. And I get to the end, like the end of the driveway where she could still see me. And I remember saying something like, screw you! And I just threw her iPod on the ground and then shattered the whole entire screen. It was bad because she just got this iPod. And it was a big deal back then. So I shattered her iPod because I was so pissed at what she had done to me. That was not funny. That was not cute. That was traumatic. And I'm in the woods with my dog over on our land still. Like, I could point it out to you right now. It's like probably like 5 blocks away if you think about it. And then this is when we still had landlines. My sister obviously calls my mom and she was like, Mom wants to talk to you, come back. And I was like, frick no. And she was like, Dad wants to talk to you. And I was like, shit. And she was like, I'm bringing you to the landline. And I'm like, throw it. So she throws the landline that's like disconnectable and somehow still reaching the house. And I specifically remember my dad screaming at me to like get back in the, oh, I forgot. This is why you don't talk and do this at the same time. Oh, how do people do this? But I specifically remember my dad screaming at me to like obviously get the dog, go back to the house. I'm in so much trouble. You're gonna be paying for Mackenzie's iPod, blah blah blah. And I was like, you don't understand the story, blah blah blah. So I tell my story. And then he's still screaming at me, and I specifically remember him going, do you hear me? Can you hear me? And I was like, yeah, Dad, you're screaming at me. You're screaming at me. How can I not hear you? So, yeah, I just remember stumbling back to the house, not even able to look. Like, Mackenzie's best friend was also, like, my older sister. So I just remember looking at her kind of like, I can't believe you did this to me. And I'm sorry that you had to see that because it was very embarrassing. Yeah, that's a story about how I had been going through night terrors, and then my sister pranked me that there was somebody in the house trying to kill us. And I freaked out, took the dog, shattered her iPod, and ran away. Yep. It's a good one. It's a good story. What's next? Oh, there was one story where my older sister and I were growing up, and we had to take all the puppies out. And there was like 8 of them or some shit. Literally getting attacked. And I didn't know what to do. And I just sat there and watched. And she was like, Carly, over here! And I was like, bro, you're getting attacked by puppies. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, first of all, stand up. Second of all, stop crying. Because the puppies think it's funny or something. The puppies like it. And then I remember, like, slowly grabbing, like, a puppy or 2 off of her. And then she got up and she was like, why didn't you help me? And I'm like, you were acting like you had feral pigs, like, surrounding you and, like, eating you. Like, you had puppies on you, bro. Like, so yeah, that was another good one. We were freaking, I don't know how old. We were not old. All of us were in elementary school. And so 12 and under. It is snowy out. There's lots of snow in the ground. You know those saucers that are like circles? Like, I think they're actually called saucers. And they went fast. Like, these things, if you know, you know. Like, these went fast. They're just the circles that you just hang on to and you're just like, here we go. We have this deck we're sledding, and we're home alone. We're home alone again. By the way, we completely messed up our summer from the story before. Like, we were never allowed home alone again the rest of the summer, and we had to go back to OST. It was awful. So we're home alone, and we were home alone a lot. I mean, we're farm kids. Like, we're fine. Like, we had our rules of, like, numbers we didn't recognize. We just, like, wouldn't pick up the phone, and we would lock the doors, and whatever. We did the rules. We were just, it came down to how we were going to handle each other was the biggest question, I guess. Oh, I can't stop sniffling. We're almost done. I haven't even been talking about what I do to my face, but you've been watching. There's a lot of highlight going on right now. We'll fix that. Anyway, so it's snowing. And we're going down the deck on our sleds. And we're all decked up in, like, snow pants and snowsuit, you know, like, we got some cushion to us. But, and there's some cushion down there with the snow. But, you know, as we keep going down this deck, the snow keeps getting fast, like, slicker, faster, you know what I mean? And then my sister has this grand idea that, Carly, you should go down on the saucer. And I'm like, yeah, I'll go down on the saucer. Like, because prior we're going down on, like, the longer sleds, like the safer ones, because Mom even said don't go down on the saucers, and that was kind of like our, like,
let's go down on the saucers.
So we go down, I go down on the saucer, and I eat shit, bro. Like, I roll. Like, the sled didn't even, it, like, got caught in part of the thing, because, like, I think I was tensing up, and it, like, went forward, and the sled got, like, caught in the deck, and then I, like, rolled down the steps. So I'm laying there at the bottom of the steps, and my sisters are like, oh my god, are you okay? And I'm like, I can't feel my feet. And I couldn't. Like, I really couldn't. But now looking back, I was just cold. But I was like, I can't feel my feet. I can't feel my feet. And they were like, oh my god, she's paralyzed, blah, blah, blah. So they drag me, and mind you, the deck is right here. The door to inside is right here. And we have this fort that's probably, like, I don't know, like, half a football field away, 50 yards away, some shit like that. And my sisters proceed to put me on the longer sled and drag me over to our fort, because our fort is new. And we are, like, all about our fort, okay? Like, we love our fort. And that's where they took me to nurse me back to life until Mom and Dad came home. We went into this freezing shed, all decked out in our clothes still. And we ended up watching a little VCR movie. And it was such a moment. Such a memory. I just remember popping and feeling so content in between my sisters, who drug me across the land to our fort to save my life. Instead of bringing me inside in the warmth, we needed to go to the fort. And no, nothing was broken. No, I wasn't paralyzed. I hurt myself, but I didn't paralyze myself or anything like that. That's a good one too. Fudge. When we can get into, like, college stories. Oh. Childhood stories are always the best, though. They're just the best. You just do shit back then with no fear. Just no, like, recollection of, like, what could happen. Like, I just remember living so fearlessly as a kid. Like, where did that go? If I don't watch the news. I mean, I watch the news enough to know, like, what's going on in the world. But I don't watch it. So I know, like, so it's repetitive. Like, they're all saying the same thing. Like, okay, I get it. Like, we got some wars going on. We got some shit going on. We got some money issues going on. We've got issues in about every department. and I have issues in about every department in my life, so I don't need to know that the world is also in shambles. You know? I'm not doing eyeliner because I don't even know why I'm doing makeup. I'm sick. We're gonna put on some... I haven't been doing this the whole time. This is some translucent powder. She's heaven in a jar. She makes everything look better. Like this overdone highlight. You could just whoop, fix that. She's really good on greaser too. Like, you know those travel bin, like travel sets, you know? And they give you like, they look like this, but they're like tiny. And I don't know what they're really like for, like hair gel or like, I don't know what they're for. But I rigged one, so I have a mini one of them that I just bring in my purse, and I have a mini translucent powder to come with me. So yeah, you could do that. You could do that. It's just really annoying because you have to take, obviously, like, you see that? And then you just like scrape and put it in a little jar. It's tedious, but it is so worth it when you're like out and about and you're greasy and you don't want to bring this big lugger with you. Like, why haven't they made little babies? Whatever. And you don't want to bring that big lugger, so you get the other little one. And all is well in the world. Little life hack for ya. Okay. I think I'm done. That was so super fun. Super fun. Sometimes when I put my hair in a clip, it like does this like weird curl. Like, my hair's naturally straight. I look really scary right now. I mean, it's going off for being sick and not going anywhere. I think we're good. But yeah, there was some story times with me about childhood and growing up, and I've got so freaking many, it's not even funny. Okay. That's the finished look. Oh. Usually I do this like halfway through and then at the end, but I forgot. Okay, we're done. Yay, we did our makeup. We told some stories. Yay. Bye. I added a headband because I kind of have like a lion's mane going on right now. So it gives a portrayal that I have like a lot of hair. So I did this. I need to grab that first. That's it! Looking great. Side note, I usually just put lip chapstick or lip gloss on. I don't really do the lining or lipstick or anything. I should, but I don't. Yeah.